Hey everybody. I've been looking at a lot of this back and forth between the Somalian community in Minnesota and Donald Trump. And the one thing I want to say about this whole thing is that I'm happy that Donald Trump spoke out, talking about Somalians in Minnesota. And the reason why I'm happy about him speaking out is because a lot of these Somalians come to America and, they always, some of them talk bad about America and America's this and America's that. And, we're doing this for Somalia. And, they always pledge allegiance to Somalia all the time. But, when it comes to America, it's always something negative. And all Donald Trump was saying is, you know what, if you guys don't like America, then go back to Somalia. And you know what, I don't blame him. A lot of times, you see so many folks that are able to come to the United States, come to the United States, set up businesses, go to schools, do all this stuff. But then, when they're asked, well, how do you feel about the United States? It's always something where it's like, oh, well, the United States is racist and it's this and it's that. And again, if you don't like our country, if you don't like America, if you don't like the American culture, then you can go back to your own country and improve your own country. And, people that think that Donald Trump is being racist and all this other stuff, those are just talking points of the left. Everything that someone does that they don't agree with, it's racist. And, some of these same liberals and some of these same Democrats probably agree with Donald Trump, but they can't say it out in public. And then also behind the scenes, you have Democrats that will always point out someone being racist, but they'll go to dinner parties that have really no black people, no people of color, and they'll say all sorts of stuff behind the scenes. And so, this whole thing of, every time Donald Trump is talking about a minority community, he's this, racist that doesn't like black people and all this other stuff. I mean, that's just crazy. Donald Trump, after the day, is, again, he'll deport people from Ukraine, India, doesn't matter. And so, they're trying to make this like Donald Trump is just singling out one group of people. No. I've been following a lot of the stuff that's been going on with immigration in America. And Donald Trump he doesn't care what color you are. If you're not supposed to be here, sends you on an airplane out of the country. And so, these old talking points of, calling everybody a racist when you don't agree with them. And then also, it's funny because I saw, I think her name's Ilhan Omar or however you pronounce it, but now all of a sudden when she comes on TV, it's, oh, well, I'm black and black and black and black and black. Now she wants to, say she's black all of a sudden. And I remember, that some of these Somalians online always had bad stuff to say about black people, call black people lazy, always, call black people all these racial slurs and stuff like that. Some of these Somalians now are asking for, black people to join in their struggle and, we're all black and all this other stuff. But where was this talk maybe 5 years ago? About 5 years ago, Somalians didn't even like to call themselves black, some of them. I've seen, some of them online say, oh, we're not black, we're not black. And so now that Donald Trump has given some folks from the Somalian community a wake-up call, now all of a sudden we're black, we've got to stick together and all this other stuff. And so it's just amazing how all of a sudden these folks want to say they're black all of a sudden, when before they were trying to distance themselves from black people. They thought, you know what, if I distance myself from black folks, then, I'm A-okay. Even though, some of them are illegal immigrants and stuff like that. But they thought, as long as I can, talk bad about black folks, then, I'm okay in America. And Donald Trump gave them a wake-up call. Like, no, first, you're illegal. Second, some of them are committing fraud and doing all sorts of stuff. And then also, you guys talk about everybody else, but look at what's going on in your country. Look at the poverty in your country. Look at the crime in your country. And then have the nerve to come to America and always, talk about America and how racist it is and how horrible it is. Then guess what? Go back to your country and fix the economy. Set up some businesses there. They won't do that. They love to just come here and just badmouth everybody. And Donald Trump, I agree with him. He wasn't going to put up with it. And it's not racist. He was just stating facts. And, that's just my take on it. And also, Tim Walz is a governor had all this stuff to say about Donald Trump when he was running with Kamala Harris. All this stuff about Donald Trump and Trump's America and all this other mess. And come to find out, I mean, look what's going on in his state. I mean, they're finding not just simple fraud, they're finding billions of dollars in fraud that's been going on and all sorts of stuff for years. Why doesn't Tim Walz, have anything to say about that? I even saw one, I think, press conference where he says, oh, well, anybody that's, I'm just paraphrasing, but he was talking about corruption and, if somebody's being corrupt, he's going to send them to jail or prison or whatever he said. And the thing about it is, then, what, he should put the handcuffs on himself, because for years, fraud's been going on, and people like Tim Walz have looked the other way. People like Tim Walz, back in the day, he's acting like some big friend of, the Somali community and all this other stuff. No, they use a lot of these foreigners and these Somalians in Minnesota for votes. The way the Democrats stay in power is they sit up and know, okay, every year or every election cycle, we have a voting block. We can just say something to the Somalians and, that we appreciate them and all this other, fake stuff, and they'll vote for us. And so a lot of these Democrats, they don't care about the Somalian, they don't care about Somalian folks in Minnesota. They don't care about, them, having jobs or being able to provide for their families. They just want voters. And if you've noticed with a lot of these Democrats, that's why for so many years they were weak on immigration. It's like they always give the excuse of, oh, well, it's going to take some time and, we have to pass some laws and stuff. This takes time and, we're doing the best we can. No, look at how Donald Trump, and I said this in another podcast, was able to get elected and then sit up and fix the border. Like in a few months, where, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, it was always an excuse. It was always, oh, well, this is a tough problem and all this other stuff. And Donald Trump was able to come in there, secure the border, get the military down there, whoever he needed to get down there, put up the wall, put up some, reinforce the border. And look at how border crossings have now basically dropped tremendously. Whereas under Biden, folks, I was watching the television and it looked like folks were just able to, just walk across our border like, they're walking across the street somewhere. Back then it was that easy. And so I'm happy that Donald Trump is cleaning up and fixing a lot of stuff in America. Do I agree with him on everything? No. There's a lot of things where I think Donald Trump could do a better job. But like I said, it's still he still has a lot of time in his he still has a few more years, so I'll see what happens. But it's just amazing how you have so many Democrats that always love to play the race card. Oh, well, Donald Trump's a racist. And again, look at some of these minority communities, especially the black community. Look at how you have a lot of black communities in America that are underfunded, that have, poor schools, people are uneducated, folks can't read, folks can't do basic math. If Democrats cared so much about black folks, and again, many Democrats have been voting for black folks for years, for decades. If Democrats cared so much, then why do these communities still lack resources? Every year, they always do this whole, the Republicans are the evil, boogeymen that don't like minorities. They always play that, card every year or every election cycle. And then when you look at the minority communities that constantly vote for Democrats, they're in shambles. Look at a place like Chicago. Chicago every year keeps on voting for black mayors that do nothing. Look at how you have this guy, what's his name, Brandon Johnson. It's just like, or Mayor Brandon Johnson, whatever he is. But look at how this guy does nothing about crime. Look at how this guy does nothing about the poverty or anything else. But they're quick to use it as a talking point where it's just like, oh, well, this is racism. Anytime somebody wants to call out, black on black crime in Chicago and these places, that's racism. So I just commend Trump for just being direct, and I hope he keeps on talking about you know problems in America. I hope he keeps on talking about the Somalian the Somalis and the Somalian folks in Minnesota. I hope he talks about them as much as he can, and maybe sit up and extend that to other communities that need to be called out. Because, for so many years, these problems weren't addressed. And I think even the Somalian situation, some of it started with Bill Clinton. So again, my voice is I might have a little cold or something, I don't know, but where people are at a breaking point where we need politicians to address these issues. And if you have to say black, if you have to say white, if you have to say Asian, then that's what you have to say. I mean, talking in code and all this other stuff, it's just doesn't make sense, especially, where we're at in America. I mean, if we don't get this right, we don't fix some of these laws or, create laws to protect folks or whatever we have to do, then we won't even have a functioning country. And so, that's just how I feel. And I hope Donald Trump keeps on talking about the Somalians. And it is what it is. So, again, let me know how you feel in the comment section about Donald Trump talking about Somalians in Minnesota. Thank you.